Before we get on to the video, do me a favor and hit the like button, it greatly helps out the channel. Also, while you're down there, subscribe for more. Now back to the video. The next day at the third evacuation shelter, Lim could be seen chuckling with a pleasant smile on his face. His team was taken aback. Lim was laughing when one of the worst gates was about to open. Seol-ah approached him, questioning if something good happened. Lim stopped laughing, however he couldn't stop smiling. He expressed to Seol-ah that something good did happen. He finally received severance pay from the company he used to work for a long time ago. As Lee was talking, Seol-ah noticed a menacing aura a distance away. The scene then shifts to the fourth evacuation shelter, and we see that the menacing aura was coming from the Black Hound Guild leader, Kim Tae-jin. The Black Hound Guild members gathered around wondering why their leader was acting this way. One of the members expressed that he heard a rumor that the guild warehouse was robbed yesterday, and that they still don't know who did it. Back at the third shelter, Lim was finally able to calm himself, and afterwards Seol-ah helped him with his armor. As she was helping, she apologized for the delay. Lim didn't mind, he just thanked her for her work. A short while later, Seol-ah was done, and Lim had donned the upgrades to his armor, and with this out of the way, the equipment preparation was complete. Lim then reached out to the support team, using an earpiece, asking if they could hear him. Il-nam replied first saying he could hear Lim, and afterwards Lee-nam replied saying the sound coming through his end sounds great. With the support team's preparation done, Lim turned to Lily and Wang, asking them if they had finished preparing. Lily raised her voice in annoyance, and she expressed that her new armor is uncomfortable because it is too tight. Wang, who had an embarrassed look on his face, agreed with Lily, and he told Lim that his new armor is embarrassing. Lim told Lily and Wang that the new armor was custom made for them, and he explained that Lily's armor was made for defense, while Wang's combat suit was made of a new, flexible material, so it's good for mobility. As he was talking, Lim noticed Wang in a weird pose, so he asked him if something was wrong with his posture and if he was going to be like that even during battle. Wang closed his eyes, and like a cutie patootie he told Lee that if his posture becomes a problem then he would use petrification to fix it. Beek approached, and she reported to Lim that the people he mentioned a few days ago had been brought to the evacuation shelter. Lim praised her for her work. Beek thought Lim was friends with those people he mentioned, so she asked him if he would like to meet them. Lim declined, saying this would be enough for now. To pay them back for their kindness, Lim separately requested protection for his friends who attended his retirement ceremony. Lim also requested protection for the friends he lost in a devastating disaster in his previous life. This time around he was determined not to let that happen again. Suddenly Changsu could be heard shouting at the top of his lungs that the disaster could come at any time, and that he, Changsu, will stop it. Lim was taken aback. He asked Beek if she had any sleep when Changsu was this excited. Beek told Lim that she couldn't. She turned her head away from Changsu in embarrassment, and she expressed that sometimes it feels like she is raising a kid. A short while later, Lim could be seen looking around at the tanks, military vehicles, soldiers, weapons, and hunters that had gathered, and with all of this he felt like it should be enough to stop this disaster. In the distance, robotic footsteps could be heard approaching. The hunters quickly took a defensive stance, questioning if it was a monster approaching. However, as the footsteps got closer, the hunters realized that it was an ally. Lim watched with a smile on his face as the robot Youngshin was working on approached them. Lily approached the robot, questioning if Youngshin could see her. Youngshin expressed that he could see her very well, and he announced that he was inside the robot. Lim was taken aback. He asked Youngshin if he modified the robot for manual access. Lily got interested in the robot, and she tried to enter it as well. However, Lim held her back, and he asked Youngshin if he got his mother's permission to use it manually as a combat uniform. Youngshin ignored Lim, and while blushing, he told Lily that he would protect her. This angered Lim, and he told Youngshin that this isn't the time or place for love. Beek, who was looking towards the sky, quickly noticed that something wasn't right. She called Lim, asking him to look at the sky. Lim turned his head to the sky, and he noticed that the different colors of the rainbow had dispersed. This made him nervous, and he questioned if the disaster had begun. He quickly told Youngshin to return to the operation command room so he wouldn't be hurt, and suddenly countless gates opened in the sky, and what seemed like an endless number of monsters quickly fell out of the gates. The soldiers that had gathered alongside the hunters were intimidated by the number of monsters that had appeared. Lim overheard the soldiers. He knew that this was only the first wave, so the number of monsters wasn't surprising to him. However, to the others he guessed that it must be pretty intimidating. In a serious tone, he spoke out loud to his team and the soldiers, saying the enemy is just a monsters that they have already dealt with countless times. He expressed that everyone should be focused on preparing to engage these monsters. This motivated the soldiers. They took aim at the monsters with their guns, expressing that they were ready to fight. Their reaction made Lim glad, because now that they had come to their senses, he could leave them in charge of the shelter. The soldiers opened fire, and the hunters were placed in charge of dealing with the monsters that got too close to the tanks and soldiers. The first wave continued on like this, however, no matter how much they killed, it felt like the monsters would just keep on coming. Chang-Su quickly joined the battle, and as he cut down monsters, he expressed in a happy tone that the monsters were finally here. With a satisfied smile on his face, he spoke, saying it's been a long time since he was on the battlefield. Before the gate, Chang-Su decided to destroy the dark blue core gate by himself, which was a very important task. Chang-Su continued on his monster killing binge, expressing that he will destroy everything including the dark blue gate. The core gates were divided between the first awakened team and the professional hunter team, as per the decision made by the guild leaders and the president before the disaster started. And Lim was planning to move separately and, quote, accidentally enter the red core gate. Lim turned to Youngshin, who was refusing to go back to the operation command room, and he asked him to take a good look, since this is what a battlefield is like. But still Youngshin was adamant on following Lim. This annoyed him greatly, but since they didn't have time to argue, he told Youngshin to follow along and back him up. And Youngshin expressed with a smile that he understood. Then Lim told his team members to head to their respective assigned positions, because the solo operation begins now. Lim, Wang, and Lily rode in an armored vehicle, and Youngshin followed behind with the robot. As they drove around, Lim thought about his plan, which was to pretend to wander aimlessly, then eventually head to the red core gate. As they continued to drive, Xiao reported to Lim that the monsters were coming from every direction. Lim told her to ignore those monsters and continue to drive. Inside the vehicle, Lim started assembling a spear. He wasn't familiar with military weapons, but with 20 years of experience in the superhuman force, he could handle this much. The armored vehicles was quickly approaching a group of werewolf monsters. After seeing the vehicles approach, the werewolf monsters rushed into attack. Xiao informed Lim about the werewolf monsters, and Lim told her to keep moving forwards. Then he jumped onto the roof of the car, and using the spear he assembled, he proceeded to cut down the group of werewolf monsters that were coming into attack. As he cut them to pieces, he told the drivers to turn at the intersection that was coming up, and he asked them to be careful of the monsters' corpses. Then he asked Lily if she was ready. Lily, who had been charging up a fireball, expressed that she was ready. And since she was ready, Lim pointed out some monsters in the distance, and he told Lily to send those monsters flying. Lily released the fireball, expressing that she will finish this quickly so she can go to the chicken buffet. Lily's fireball devastated the monsters in front of them. But Xiao expressed her concerns to Lim about driving through the flames, and Lim told her not to slow down. He expressed that they must keep going. Hearing this, Lily motioned both of her hands forwards, and she parted the flames, so the armored vehicles and Youngshin could get through. Afterwards, Lily started shouting, and Youngshin watched her from inside the robot. He was slightly taken aback as she went on saying she would eat hangjiansel. Lim smiled, and he told everyone to move forward at full speed. Lim continued to give directions from the top of the vehicle. First, he instructed them to turn right at a hospital, and after they went 2 blocks further, Lim instructed them to turn right. As they went on, Lim was mapping everything out in his head, and he knew that they just had a little bit further to go before they reached the red core gate. A short while later, the red core gate could be seen coming into view. Xiao spoke in a shocked tone, questioning if that wasn't the red core gate in front of them. Her shock was quickly replaced with a smile, and she guessed that this is what the great sage's prophecy meant. As they got close to the gate, Lim ordered his team to prepare to enter the gate, but something suddenly fell from the gate. As it fell, this thing looked like a slime, but after landing on the ground, it took the form of a giant T-Rex. Jin Xiao reported to Lim, telling him that they were just 1 kilometer away from the monster, and she asked him if they should slow down. Lim glared at the monster. He knew that if they delayed here, then other monsters could come and attack, and if they get surrounded, it could be a problem. So he told Xiao to maintain their current speed. Then he called Wang, expressing that they were counting on him to face the monster. Wang jumped from the vehicle that he was riding in, and as he approached the monster, he told Lim that he will show him the results of his training. As he came face to face with the T-Rex monster, Wang was faced with a mouth full of teeth. He quickly activated his petrification ability, and as the monster's mouth clamped down on him, his body started emitting a golden glow, and he was able to hold the monster's mouth open. Lim quickly recognized the golden glow Wang's body was emitting. It was the golden mana of the diamond power ball. Wang felt proud of himself. Even though it was slow, he is now finally able to do it. He gritted his teeth and he continued to exert all of his strength to keep the monster's mouth open. Lim then spoke to Youngshin, expressing that it was time for him to step forward. He asked Youngshin to show that he will be able to protect Lily like he said he would. Youngshin quickly flew towards the T-Rex monster. The monster noticed Youngshin coming, so it quickly spat out Wang, and it tried to bite Youngshin. However, Youngshin maneuvered the robot around the T-Rex's mouth, and he grabbed its tail, and he picked it off the ground. Then he slammed the T-Rex on the ground. This took the whole Team 7 by surprise, and they were now jealously wanting to ride the robot as well. Youngshin's attack immobilized the T-Rex, and using this opportunity Lim delivered the final blow. Afterwards he approached the corpse of the T-Rex. Judging by the size of the T-Rex, Lim guessed that it must have a valuable item inside its corpse. He quickly dismembered the monster's corpse, and he found a glowing pearl-like object called Nadan. This was a very valuable item, and it is said to be an excellent item for nourishment of the body. Lim grabbed the Nadan, and he held it in his hands, but as he was admiring it, Wang called out to him, and he pointed out that more monsters were coming out of the gate. Lim, like a kid at a candy shop, smiled, and he expressed happily to Wang and the rest of the team that they should make their way towards the Red Core Gate. The question of how to destroy the Red Core Gate isn't a difficult one to answer. The main requirement is to kill the fire giant that is sleeping in the volcano. After fighting the new monsters that had appeared from the gate and entering the Red Core Gate, Lim quickly stopped Team 7 so Xiaola could help them replace their armor to combat the heat. Shortly after the armor replacement was complete, and after the armor change they were all feeling better, Lim clenched his fist, and with a smile, he expressed that these combat suits were cooler than he expected them to be. He stretched his shoulder, and he told Xiaola that besides being efficient and comfortable, these combat suits looked amazing as well. And because of this armor things will be easier in the future. Xiaola expressed to Lim that she was surprised when she first received the new suits. She told Lim that Youngshin helped make the new combat suits, and she expressed that he is an outstanding friend to have. Lim thought to himself that the results of stealing from the Black Hound Guild and asking for new combat suits in advance was paying off. Youngshin approached Lily and he asked her to click a button on the robot's arm. Lily clicked the button and a popsicle came out. Lily thanked Youngshin for the popsicle, and Youngshin blushed saying it's no big deal. Lim didn't want to let Youngshin continue cooking it up with Lily, so he told Team 7 to get ready to leave. A short while later, Team 7 was approached by a group of fire wolves. After seeing the monsters, Wang quickly jumped to the front lines. Seeing Wang take the initiative without being told surprised Lim. However, he didn't mind this. He proceeded to take out a gun, and he sat on top of the armored vehicle, and as he took aim, he expressed that it's been a while since he showed off his shooting skills. As Wang was about to face off against the monsters, he clenched his fist, telling them to come at him. However, as the monsters approached, he was quickly overwhelmed because of the heat. Lim shot the monsters with the gun, freezing them solid and saving Wang. Thanks to the robot, Lim felt like he could afford to take his time to shoot, and he thought it was a good thing he had the White House Guild prepare a liquid nitrogen bullet gun in advance. With his attention still turned to the monsters that had been frozen solid, he told Youngshin to finish them off, and Youngshin quickly flew off to finish the monsters. Youngshin punched through the icicle monster in one hit, and Lim watched in amazement. He noted that his work just got a whole lot more comfortable. He expressed to the others that they will continue on like this and quickly pass by the flame centipede ahead. Sometime later, Lily let out a bored sigh. This surprised Lim. He turned his attention to her, questioning if something was wrong. Lily expressed in an annoyed tone that her fire ability is useless here. Lim thought it was obvious why her fire ability wouldn't be useful, so he told her that she can just take a rest. Hearing those words saddened Lily, and she questioned if she would be useless now. Lim turned his back on her, and in an annoyed tone, he questioned what Lily was talking about. He told her that after she rested, she would have to fight a lot, and he asked her if that sounded more fun than resting. A shiver was sent through Lily's spine, and she expressed that fighting would not be more fun than resting. Afterwards, she lowered her head, and she smiled. Sometime later, Team 7 came across a lava lake. Lim ordered everyone to stop and wait. There had been no problems so far, but Lim thought the lava lake would be a big problem. There were no monsters near the lava lake, so Lim asked the medical team to bring him a monster's corpse. Chinil Nam brought the corpse of a small monster on a tray. Lim grabbed the monster's corpse, and he threw it over the lava lake. Suddenly, a giant monster jumped out, and it swallowed the monster's corpse whole. Everyone on Team 7, except Lim, was taken aback. Lim sighed, and he told the others that if they had continued without checking, they would have been in big trouble. After jumping out to devour the corpse of that small monster, the lava lake monster quickly retreated back into the lava lake. Lim knew that he would have to catch this monster before they could continue, so he called Xiaola and he asked her if she had any big fishing rods. He expressed that it would be fine even if it's a one-time use. Xiaola was taken aback, and she asked Lim if he was trying to catch the flame snake. Lim expressed that he knows it's crazy, but they should give it a try first. Xiaola asked Lim to wait a moment, and she quickly took off to look through the equipment she brought. Lim turned to Wang and Youngshin, and he told them to play rock, paper, scissors before Xiao returned. Youngshin and Wang faced each other with a puzzled look on their faces, wondering what Lim was planning. A short while later, Wang could be seen teary-eyed as he is thrown over the fire lake by Youngshin. The flame snake jumped out of the lava and it gobbled up Wang. Lim quickly instructed Youngshin to pull, and Youngshin pulled the flame snake with all of the robot's might. This created tension on the rope Youngshin was using, and the robot was now in a tug-of-war against the flame snake. Inside the flame snake's mouth, Wang took out an object, remembering that Lim told him to take it out once he is inside the monster's mouth. The object activated, piercing through the top and bottom mouth of the snake. This surprised the monster, and while it was in a daze, Lim instructed Youngshin to use the robot's maximum output. Youngshin pulled, and he was able to pull the flame snake out of the lava lake. The flame snake spat Wang out, and it flopped on the ground. Lim made his way over, asking Wang if he was alright. Wang expressed that he was fine. Suddenly the ground started to shake. Instinctively Lim and Wang turned their attention to the volcano. And suddenly a giant hand reached forth from the volcano, and it grabbed the crater. Then using the crater as support, the fire giant arose from the depths of the volcano. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then hit the like button.